Hey, if you're trying to scale your real estate business and you keep running against brick walls and you can't seem to scale year after year, your business is stagnant and you can't really figure out why, I'm gonna show you exactly why that is and how you can actually scale your business. My name is Carl Freund and I am the CEO of Kenneth James Realty, and I've helped agents just like you sell well in excess of $1 billion and help them scale using these exact methods. Now, this is gonna be more of a foundational type training and really get your head around why you need to do certain things and what roadblocks and what points of resistance you're going to see inside of your real estate business as a real estate agent. And so it's very, very important that you understand the fundamentals, and then I'm going to give you some resources that you can use to help actually, deconstruct some of these limitations. So I'm going to get right into it here. The number one thing that most agents have trouble with is lead generation. And so I need you to understand very, very specifically that lead generation is going to be the lifeblood of your business. If you do not have leads, simply you do not have a business. And so one of the things I really want you to understand is that you need to create systems and operationalize each one of these segments inside your business, especially lead generation. Now I've got a link, I'll put a link to the video or do a little pop out here on how I actually generate it's well over 1,000 leads every single month for the last really 7 years straight, and how I'm able to monetize these things. So I do not have a lead generation problem. Matter of fact, I'm actually stuck here in a lead follow-up problem, and we'll talk about that just a little bit more. So when I'm talking about lead generation, in defining what a system is, so a system needs a couple different components. Number one, it needs to be scalable, it needs to be reliable and repeatable, and it needs to be trainable, meaning you can actually delegate that to somebody, okay? So for example, let's say that you've come up with a lead generation method. It needs to be 0 to 100. You can actually scale it very, very linearly or even exponentially. It needs to be repeatable, meaning that you can do it over and over and over again and expect the same or similar result. And then you need to be able to obviously train somebody that can be your assistant, that could be another marketing company or another agent or person in your office or an admin to do those things inside that system to generate that same result with reasonable efficiency. So I need you to understand that. So you got to systemize everything and talk about operationalizing everything. And that's a big component of releasing some of these constraints inside your business. Now understand, you as a real estate agent, as a solo agent, and I don't know what market you're operating in, but generally you're going to see constrictions, at least it was for me, at about 50 to 60 transactions per year as a solo agent, okay? And I've never really had this lead generation problem. So matter of fact, I've got too many leads. And so if you look at my CRM right now, I'm operating with about 67,000, and actually at the end of the month would be almost 70,000, I believe, leads, and those are buyers and sellers. And so what I've done is I started out doing something called PPL. These are really notes for myself. PPL is pay per lead. That's gonna be your Zillows, your Realtors, your Home.com, basically any kind of lead source is you're paying for leads. And I wanna step back for 2 seconds here and kind of qualify this too, because a lot of people are afraid to spend money. And I'm gonna tell you that you're really gonna constrict your business if you just decide not to spend money. And so in order to scale, you've really got to fix this problem first. And so I don't care how you do lead generation. As a matter of fact, if you'd like to subscribe, I'll go do a whole series on lead generation for both buyers and sellers and show you I've made tens of millions of dollars selling real estate. PPL, which is pay per lead, which is your Zillow, your portals, and other third-party companies are a great way to be able to scale without having to learn lead generation. But I will teach you how to do lead generation. The other thing is you can outsource it to a different company. So you can outsource it to a marketing company. There's some great people. Brian Short has done PPC. He's done PPC for me in the past. And he's probably the single best PPC, pay-per-click, Google pay-per-click guy in the country right now operating in the real estate space. I'll put a link to him underneath. And lead generation is going to be leverage. Leverage is really what you need to be able to scale and really monetize all of this. And so understand, one of your biggest constrictions too is going to be time. And so that's very, very, very important to understand. And so generally when you first start out in this business, you've got a lot of time on your hands. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even know what to do. They've got so much time on their hands and they're not doing income producing activities. And so that brings me to the next point here. One of the biggest income producing activities you can do is lead follow-up. And it takes a lot of time, okay? So here is where we can use a little bit of leverage, which is automations, right? So that means having a really good CRM. And so I can recommend a couple of CRMs that I've used. FileBoss is currently what I'm using in my systems on a day-to-day basis. I use Sierra Interactive for my website. And also I do use their back-end system, which is their CRM, for my team. And I do operate a team that is very, very successful. And so we use the combination of FileBoss and Sierra Interactive to be able to do a lot of these automations, which could be automatic emails, texts. We have drip campaigns. We've got a ton of different follow-up systems that we use, including calling, to do that lead follow-up. And so understand, you can generate all the leads that you want to. If you're not following up on those leads, your income is exactly zero, and you're gonna give up, and you're gonna be swearing me up and down saying, Carl said do all this lead generation, and they're not converting, It's because you don't have good lead generation. This is really, lead follow-up. This is really gonna be a very, very big constrictor in your business. And so if you break through these levels here, so you've got good lead generation and you're converting those leads into appointments, at some point you're gonna have a constriction here where literally time, again, becomes another factor. You've got so many appointments and so many listing presentations and so many buyer consultations and so many showings that you legitimately don't have enough time. And so what do you do to break through this constraint? Is you hire and train someone else. It goes back to operationalization and basically having good systems to be able to do this, right? So, bringing in a buyer's agent would be very, very helpful in a case like this. So I want you to kind of think about it in terms of scale. So as a solo agent, I would like to see you getting anywhere between 300 and 400 leads per month, okay? And that could be a combination of buyer and seller leads, and obviously seller leads are gonna be a little bit higher converting. The buyer ones, especially internet leads, it depends on your source, but they're not gonna convert very well, so I should really kind of qualify with what that proportion would be. If you're doing pay per lead, which would be like your Zillows, your Realtor.coms, your Homes.com, your conversion ratio should be about 8% roughly. Some teams are better than that, some teams are worse than that. So anywhere between 4 and call it 4 and 12% on some kind of paid per lead service would generally be pretty good, but again, that costs a lot of money. If you're using PPC, any kind of internet lead, expect that to be about 1% in about a 30 to 60 day time horizon, and it could be much better than that longer term, especially if you've got good automated follow-up systems there. But let's say you're going on showings, which you're showing 4 or 5 buyers at a time, you've got multiple listings at a time, you're going out in these appointments, you're doing all those things, you're gonna have a transaction management problem next. And so one of the things that you really need to do is, again, operationalize your transaction management. That would be hiring a TC, or maybe it's an admin, or maybe it's both. And so understanding that your limitation here is going to be really, really critical, because that really involves the client experience portion of this thing. And so, if you've got all these other things correct and you fail here, this doesn't even matter, because you're not going to get any referrals or repeat business. So please understand that you get all the way through, you close the transaction, this is the closing point right here. This post-closing systems is very, very important, because that is your repeat and your referral business. And so 99% of agents that I've met, and even agents in my own firm, are terrible, absolutely freaking terrible at follow-up post-closing. And so they might give you a gift at closing, and then you agents tell the buyer, the borrower, the seller to peace out, and you never talk to them again. And that's a terrible way to build a business. And then there's something called LTV, and that's not loan to value, this is lifetime value of a client. And so I want you to think about it like this. And so if you're creating a long-standing business, which I want you to do, why wouldn't you go after a repeat referral business? And the answer is you absolutely should, because one closed client, or maybe even they didn't close, maybe just had an interaction with you, showed a bunch of properties, and they bounced, they used another agent, but you're the one that actually follows up and gets a referral. Or maybe you get that repeat business on the back end of that thing, you kept in touch with that buyer that then needs to sell, then you're gonna get this, and that lifetime value of that client might be a 2 or 3x component in your business, meaning that one client might turn into 2 or 3 transactions, or might turn into 2 or 3 referrals. And so then you literally cut out this top 40% of the funnel, right? And so it's very important to have really good referral and repeat business systems in place, and you got to use a CRM. Okay, so one of the things I've done is operationalize that. As a matter of fact, if you do like and subscribe, I will make a whole course on what I do for repeat and referral business. And I will tell you right now, if you enter my network, it doesn't matter where you came from, if you enter my network, I will never leave you alone. In a good way, right? I'm not harassing people, but legitimately, I send out birthday texts every morning. I send out a ton of material in terms of anniversary cards and stuff like that. I'm very, very good at that because I've operationalized, I've got a really good system for my repeat and my referral business. And so I need you to really understand the fundamentals here and understand that you have to break through these things and spend time on each system until you get it really dialed in. So if you are lacking lead generation systems, I want you to spend some time today and really visualize what that looks like. And then I want you to visualize what that lead follow-up systems should also look like. Is it going to be automations? Is it going to be texts? Is it going to be emails? Is it going to be calls? Is it going to be direct mail? What is that going to look like for you and based on how you want to present your business? And then at some point you're going to have this constraint here, and this is a really good constraint to have, by the way. And so understand that you just got to look through your funnels and look through your systems and see where your weak points are. Really spend some time on that. Operationalize your business, and you're going to be able to actually crush it. And you're going to have really smooth income, because for a lot of agents, here's what happens. They start doing a ton of lead gen, they start going on appointments, they stop doing lead gen. They stop doing lead follow-up. And their income is like this. It's literally just like up and down. It's like a seesaw. And you can't run a business like that. And you are a business owner. So use your intelligence, use the foundations I'm going to give you, use my SOPs. I'll give you my SOPs, and like and subscribe, because you're going to learn a ton of information. And I really want you guys to focus on lead gen. So I'll create a bunch of videos around that, and I'll put a link or a little pop-up here for you on how I generate over 1,000 buyer leads a month. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I genuinely appreciate you, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Thanks so much. Take care. See ya.